Welcome back, my friends. Currently, we're on day 350 of Russia's disastrous invasion of Ukraine, and President Zelensky has gone on a European tour. The first stop was in London, and he met with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And here is the reception that he received at 10 Downing Street. That's a fantastic reception from the Prime Minister. This, to me, looks like something out of a movie. President Zelensky also gave a great address to the British Parliament. Let me show a couple clips of the highlights.
Any aggressor who will try to push the boundaries by force, who will inflict destruction and death on other peoples, who will try to endure his dictatorship at the expense of other people's blood in criminal and unprovoked wars, as the Kremlin does. Any aggressor is going to lose.
Russia is going to lose. And I think the line in Zelensky's speech that the British media latched onto was this one. So let's watch it first. This is what Zelensky had to say.
I will explain. It's the helmet of a real Ukrainian pilot. He is one of our most successful aces, and he's one of our kings. And the writing on the helmet reads, "We have freedom, give us wings to protect it."
So the Speaker of Parliament was given this helmet, and it reads, "We have freedom, give us wings to protect it." This reminds me of Zelensky 2 months ago having all of the defenders on the front line in Bakhmut sign the Ukrainian flag. It was then given to the Speaker of the House. So Zelensky's not being subtle in that the Ukrainians really want this announcement of Western aircraft to be delivered to Ukraine, and Prime Minister Sunak says nothing is off the table as Zelensky pleads for fighter jets. Now, the UK in this visit did announce that they would start training Ukrainian pilots on Western aircraft, as well as supply longer-range weapons to Kyiv. So this is an interesting and new development. The Prime Minister's office also said that the UK would offer to provide Ukraine with longer-range capabilities in an effort to disrupt Russia's war efforts. So specifically, what missile system and how many, I don't think we know that information yet, but an announcement could be coming soon. In addition, there's going to be this meeting at Ramstein in a week or two of NATO countries, and I think once again there's going to be a coalition of countries all announcing at the same time sending of these Western fighter jets. So what does Russia have to say? Russia vows response if UK sends warplanes to Ukraine. And my personal opinion on all this, here's a tweet. This isn't real, this is a parody, but leaked joint statement from CIA and MI6. Russia is officially planning to do absolutely effing nothing if the West supplies Ukraine with jets and longer-range missiles. So this is the holding pattern we've been stuck in for a year now, where the West says, should we send this? What will Russia do? And at every step, every escalation, Russia hasn't done anything. Should we send javelins and stingers? Is that an escalation? Nothing happened. Should we send Western artillery like the M777 howitzer? Should we send the HIMARS launchers? Should we send modern air defense systems? Should we send infantry fighting vehicles? Should we send main battle tanks? So the last piece of the puzzle in combined arms that the Ukrainians are missing are these Western planes, Western fighter jets. And Russia's not going to do anything. They're too scared of getting into a direct conflict with NATO. So after leaving the UK, Zelensky then flew to Paris and met with Scholz and Macron. This meeting also went very well. He then crossed the border into Belgium and spoke to the European Parliament, and this was a special moment.
Slava Ukraini!
You can see it on Zelensky's face when the European body replies, Heroam Slava. He almost starts to cry and then breaks out into a clap. And I think the most heartwarming moment of this two-day trip in Europe was when Zelensky was at the podium in the UK. A reporter for BBC Ukraine had this to say.
On BBC Ukraine.
Вітаю, пане президенте. Дякую за ваш приїзд. Я б вас хотіла обійняти і подякувати, але не можна. Але не застрелять.
So this Ukrainian reporter for the BBC said she wanted to thank and hug President Zelensky, but didn't think she'd be allowed, and Zelensky, without hesitation, says, "Get over here and hug me." This man is just so charismatic, so genuine. I love that he wore his famous green sweatshirts to all of these governing bodies. His nation is at war. It would be inappropriate for him to be wearing a fancy suit, speaking to all of these foreign bodies. Also worth mentioning, 2 or 3 days ago, President Biden here in the United States gave his State of the Union address and reaffirmed that the United States will stand with Ukraine as long as it takes. Here is a 4-minute clip. I'll put it in a pinned comment down below if you want to watch the whole thing. But let me share about 30 seconds of this clip with you.
I spoke from this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine. A murderous assault, evoking images of death and destruction Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? We stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Will we stand for the defense of democracy? For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity.
So President Biden says, will we stand for the defense of democracy? And after saying this, Vice President Kamala Harris stands and claps. And the man that you might not know, standing behind Biden now is the new Speaker of the House. This is Kevin McCarthy. And he chose not to clap, not to stand. The Republican caucus in the House of Representatives is divided on the issue of Ukraine. Now, I do want to preface what I'm going to say next that the overwhelming majority of Republicans here in America do support Ukraine. There's about 220 House Republicans. I think close to 150 of them want to continue supplying aid to help Ukraine. But it's this 50 to 70 group that, for whatever reason, either openly support Russia or don't want to support Ukraine. And the leader of this group, I don't know why, is this congressperson, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She, in effect, is indirectly controlling the Speaker of the House because in order for him to be elected, he had to change the rules where any member of the caucus at any time can basically remove him from his position. So if Kevin McCarthy doesn't do what this minority of Republicans want, he will be removed as Speaker of the House. For whatever reason, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the leader of this faction. Now, Russian state media has picked up on this. They really like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're seeing her as their best hope for blocking additional aid to Ukraine from the United States. So here is a clip from Russian Media Monitor. I've shown these clips on my channel numerous times. I'll include this in a pinned comment down below. But let me share some, if you don't know who Marjorie Taylor Greene is, she's kind of crazy. A couple years ago, she stated that Jewish space lasers were causing wildfires in California in order to enrich the Rothschild international banking cartel. She's also promoted lots of other conspiracies. She is not mainstream in any way here in America. And here are some of her recent tweets about Ukraine. The first one is from January 30th, full-blown insanity. Now the U.S. warmongers say that in order to defend Ukraine, Ukraine must invade Crimea and take it back from Russia. So this is Marjorie Taylor Greene's official position that Crimea belongs to Russia. Crimea should not be taken back or liberated, really, by the Ukrainians. And she's calling her own government, the Biden administration, warmongers by allowing Ukraine to defend its own people. The next tweet is from January 24th of this year. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and the war with Russia doesn't change that. This is Kremlin propaganda. Russian disinformation promotes this narrative that Ukraine is corrupt and you can't help the Ukrainians because all of the money and aid is being stolen. Marjorie Taylor Greene happily promotes Kremlin propaganda such as this. Next tweet is from February 6th. Every month, America gives Ukraine $1.1 billion to keep their government propped up. Every month. And for people in America that support Russia or hate Ukraine, they're going to keep pushing this narrative about tax dollars, that sending aid and money to Ukraine is a waste of U.S. taxpayer money. Now, if you do the math, it comes out to something ridiculous like 35 cents. I think I did it in a previous video. But the true cost to the average American taxpayer to help Ukraine and Europe defend themselves from Russian fascism, I would argue is a good deal. But if you still think it costs too much, you're completely ignoring the secondary benefits that the United States economy is receiving from supporting Ukraine. So to the Americans who complain that the defense of Ukraine is financed by their taxes, they do not see that in return they receive military orders from countries like Poland. Just Poland has ordered $10 billion worth of HIMARS launchers, $6 billion worth of Abrams tanks, $4.5 billion worth of F-35 fighter jets, $4 billion worth of Patriot launchers. So for defense contractors, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, Huntington Ingalls, Raytheon, these companies employ hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Americans. These are very high-paying jobs with great benefits, and those people pay taxes. There is a tremendous benefit economically here in the United States to help defend democracy around the world and showcase our weapon capabilities so that other democracies around the world also want to buy our equipment to defend themselves from tyranny and fascism abroad. This is a no-brainer what the true economic benefit is if you want to go strictly off of this as a waste of taxpayer money argument. Here's an article from Fox News. Poland seeks to purchase 96 Apache attack helicopters from Boeing. Each one of these helicopters costs $140 million. Now, do I want to see U.S. defense contractors bringing in record profits off of this war? No, that also looks bad, but we do live in a capitalist society in which these are publicly traded companies that have to operate at a profit. Once again, these are very high-paying jobs with great benefits, and you can only afford that if you charge $140 million for an Apache helicopter. What's the alternative? Communism failed. So when we check in with the war map, Bakhmut continues to hold, but Russia is definitely planning something. Ukraine braces for grisly Russian offensive in the east. So with satellites in space, we know exactly where the Russians are and what they're doing, and Ukrainian intelligence is estimating that Russia is prepared 1,800 tanks, 3,900 armored vehicles, 2,700 artillery systems, 810 multiple rocket launch systems, 400 fighter jets, 300 helicopters, for an impending Blitzkrieg 2.0. As we come up on the one-year anniversary of this war, of this full-scale invasion, I think Russia is planning a redo, where they're preparing all of their forces around the border of the front lines, and then they're going to swarm all at once. This is a terrible plan. It's not going to go well, but I do believe Russia is dumb enough to try this again. And Russia has to do something because they've already changed their maps. Russian maps featuring occupied Ukrainian territories goes on sale in Moscow. So here's the map. This is the new official borders of Russia according to Russia. They've taken the 4 oblasts in the south, securing the land bridge to Crimea. This map is fascinating for numerous reasons. The first one is, I think they've officially given up on ever taking the city of Odessa and connecting to the Russian military forces in Moldova. But if we zoom in on this map, they're claiming that the city of Kherson on the north bank of the Dnipro River belongs to Russia. They're also taking the entirety of the Donbas region, as well as the city of Zaporizhia. And no Russian soldier has set foot in the oblast capital city of Zaporizhia. How do you annex an entire city of hundreds of thousands of people when you've never even been close to it? Same with the Donbas region. Russia is never taking Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. Russia is never getting back across this river to take the oblast capital city of Kherson. It's all a joke. And how is Russia's military supposed to achieve any kind of success when every couple days there's another one of these viral videos of Russian soldiers filming themselves, reading from a note, complaining about how they're being treated on the front lines? I'm not going to play this clip. I'll include it in a pinned comment down below, but these Russian soldiers are complaining about being split up after they were part of the unit that got blown up on New Year's Eve by the HIMARS launchers. But a clip I do want to share with you is of Russian widows. These are women in the DPR and LPR, which doesn't exist anymore, but they were given fur coats as compensation for the loss of their husbands.
Мы сегодня получили неожиданно такую помощь. Очень благодарны вам. Здесь собрались семьи погибших военнослужащих. Ну, правда, спасибо большое от чистого сердца вам.
Юлии, спасибо.
Да. Ярославу и Александру за то, что они позаботились, такую помощь передали сюда, на Донбасс. Да, не каждый, наверное, думал, что такая возможность. Спасибо большое.
So for these women of the Donbas regions whose husbands were killed, it's all smiles and thank yous as the generous people of Moscow provide them with fur coats. Now, I do find it interesting that they're not wearing the coats and they're immediately putting them back into the dry cleaner bags. I don't think these women are going to be able to keep these coats. So this is absurd, and there are now memes online that in order to get you to send your husband off to war, all it takes is a fur coat. Okay, so how is Russia going to pay for hundreds of thousands of fur coats? And Russia is weighing a wartime tax increase. Russia could increase taxes for the first time since the invasion of Ukraine to help plug a hole in the state budgets. So how bad is the hole? Russia's budget deficit rose to 1.76 trillion rubles, or about 24.8 billion US dollars, just for the month of January. This is an admission from the finance ministry. This is the highest monthly deficit since 1998. It's only going to get worse. Every month we go into 2023, the deficit is going to get worse. Russia's economy is in trouble. The next story I want to tell you about concerns the intel report put out by the Ukrainians that Putin uses body doubles. And I mentioned this in a video last October, and people thought this was too conspiracy theory-ish, that Putin would be using body doubles to especially meet with foreign leaders. And here is Gherkin. This guy is a terrorist. I cannot say enough terrible things about him. But he is a former FSB officer, and in this clip he put out, he's basically confirming that yes, Putin is using body doubles for public appearances, and the real Putin more than likely never leaves the Kremlin.
Ну, я думаю, что реально жив, и почему, я думаю, как бы не помню. Ну, просто, извините, обычная элементарная логика. Вот мы видим улыбающегося президента, как я говорю, лицо почти идентичное натуральному, вот, который награждает генералов орденами и так далее, солдат, который там где-то участвует, перед кем-то выступает, охотно фотографируется, их там пара штук, например. Они немножко разные. Один говорит, другой фотографируется. Примерно они чуть-чуть различаются, на мой взгляд, по крайней мере. И нам же в это же время показывают одного президента, находящегося на литургии на Рождество. Одного. Вообще одного. Один в храме. Их он, даже своих друзей, вот этих самых Бельвазара и компанию, он ближе 20 метров не пускать недавно. Вот он там показывает, где он там принимает кого-то еще там вот тоже. Ну, почему? Почему вот один готов уплясать, обнимается, там медали дают там толпе, а другой вот так вот всех, вот даже министров своих близких держит на стороне. Ну что, министров боится больше, чем людей из толпы? Да нет. Боится, что они кинутся на него и удушат, выпьют кровь? Нет. Просто это разные люди.
There's speculation that the original Putin, who was elected 23 years ago, isn't even alive anymore. He's just been entirely replaced by body doubles. But if the real Putin is really alive, then this is him. The guy who won't let anyone get within 30 meters of him. The guy sitting this far away from people who have all been searched, all been screened, and are either working for him or are his closest allies. This is the real Putin. So who the heck is this guy? Driving around the streets of Moscow, going into busy business buildings, shaking hands, taking photos with, and meeting with tech entrepreneurs in St. Petersburg. I mean, this is absolutely laughable that this guy and this guy is the same person. So this is the body double. It seems like a good job, or at least it was a good job up until this year. The last couple of clips I have for you. The first one concerns the city of Marinka. I showed these photos in a previous video. This is a town in the Donbass that Russia has been shelling continuously for a year now. Marinka is about 10 kilometers west of the city of Donetsk, and the Russians can't capture this town either. And here are Ukrainian defenders in Marinka, surviving in the ruins, and this is what life on the front lines looks like for them.
Можна сказати, потрошки потушення беруть, але це ж хуйня.
Ебать, яка Мар'їнка, нахуй, розхуярена, блядь. Та всі такі тумі, блядь. Я зараз там чи побачу телефон, щоб хуяра мені в телефон в камеру, нахуй. Короче, тут пиздец.
Wow. So in this photograph, in these ruins, there are Ukrainian defenders holding the line. Last clip I have for you is of Ukrainian combat cats.
Так, коти, доповідайте, хто з вас на чергуванні? Ти чи ти? Не поняв, рація лежить, ніхто не відповідає. Що за діла? 2 наряди поза чергою. Що там? Москаль чи що? Є москаль? Є москаль чи нема? Доповідайте. Здаєте пост чи ні?
Це хто?
Здав пост?
Альфа.
Та він на рації сидить.
Альфа-самець.
That's all for this update video. Glory to the heroes, glory to Ukraine. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support my channel. Comments or questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, take care, be safe.